Welcome, dear friend, wherever you are in this vast world, whether the night has just fallen or the stars have already begun their ancient dance across the heavens. I am grateful you are here. Take a moment now to settle into this space, this present moment that asks nothing of you except to simply be. Let your body sink a little deeper into whatever supports you. Feel the weight of your head against the pillow, the gentle rise and fall of your chest with each breath. If you'd like, share in the comments where you are listening from tonight and what time it is in your corner of the world. But know that wherever you are, whatever hour has brought you here, you are exactly where you need to be. Tonight, we journey together into a teaching as old as the mountains and as fresh as this very breath you're taking now. We explore the profound wisdom of returning to the breath, of returning home. Not home as a place with walls and doors, but home as the eternal present moment, the still point within you that has never left, that has been waiting patiently for your return. Before we begin, let us take 3 slow breaths together. Breathe in deeply through your nose, feeling the cool air enter your body, and breathe out slowly through your mouth, releasing the day behind you. Again, breathing in peace, breathing out everything you've been carrying. And once more, breathing in this moment, breathing out into complete surrender. The breath, dear friend, is like a thread of light connecting you to something infinite. When you were born, you took your first breath, without thought, without effort, without anyone teaching you how. And when your time in this body comes to its natural end, you will release your final breath with the same effortless surrender. Between these 2 breaths lies the entire story of your life, and in each small breath along the way, you are given the opportunity to come home, to return to the simplicity of just being alive, just being here, just being. In the Zen tradition, there is a teaching that says we are all like travelers who have forgotten where we came from, wandering through landscapes both beautiful and harsh, seeking something we cannot name. We grasp at experiences, relationships, achievements, trying to fill a hollow place inside us. We try to control the wind, to hold water in our hands, to make the river flow backward. And in all this striving, we forget the simplest truth. Home was never somewhere we needed to arrive at. Home is what we are. Home is this breath. Home is now. Imagine, if you will, a great sky stretching endlessly in all directions. This sky is always present, always clear, always at peace. Sometimes clouds drift across it, dark clouds heavy with storm, bright clouds painted by sunset, thin wisps of morning rest. But the sky itself is never disturbed. It doesn't push the clouds away or cling to the beautiful ones. It simply allows them to move through, knowing its own nature cannot be changed by what passes through it. Your true nature is like this sky, vast and clear and undisturbed. Your thoughts, emotions, worries, and fears are like clouds. And the breath, the simple act of breathing with awareness, is what reminds you that you are the sky, not the clouds. Tonight, I will share with you stories from the Zen tradition, teachings wrapped in the gentle clothing of parables and encounters between those who sought wisdom and those who embodied it. Let these stories wash over you like waves upon a shore, each one carrying a truth that your heart already knows but has perhaps forgotten. You need not strain to remember every word or detail. Simply allow the rhythm of the telling to guide you deeper into relaxation, deeper into the spaciousness of this moment, deeper into the home that you have never truly left. There was once a monk named Kenji who lived in a small temple nestled high in the mountains, where the air was thin and clear and the silence so profound that you could hear the whisper of snow falling on winter nights. Kenji had studied the Dharma for many years. He had memorized countless sutras, practiced meditation until his legs knew the shape of the lotus position better than the shape of walking, and served his teacher with devoted attention. Yet, despite all his practice, Kenji felt that something essential remained just beyond his grasp. Peace seemed always to elude him, like trying to capture moonlight in a jar. One autumn morning, when the maple trees had turned the color of fire and the wind carried the scent of approaching winter, Kenji's teacher, An old woman named Master Shen called him to her chamber. The room was simple, containing only a low table, a few cushions, and a single scroll hanging on the wall depicting a circle painted in one continuous brushstroke. Master Shen was sitting by the window, watching leaves spiral down from the branches outside. "Kenji," she said, without turning from the window, her voice as soft as the sound of water over smooth stones. "You have been here for 7 years. You know the scriptures. Your posture in meditation is impeccable. Yet I see in your eyes the same restlessness that was there when you first arrived, soaked from the rain, seeking something you could not name. Tell me, what are you searching for?" Kenji bowed deeply, pressing his forehead nearly to the floor. "Master, I seek enlightenment. I seek to know the true nature of reality. I seek freedom from suffering." Master Shen turned from the window then, and her eyes were bright with something that might have been compassion or amusement or both. "And where do you believe this enlightenment can be found? In what distant land does freedom from suffering live? How many more years of meditation will it take for reality to reveal its true nature to you?" Kenji felt confusion rise in him like floodwater. "Master, I don't understand. Is it not through practice that we achieve these things? Is it not through discipline and study that we progress along the path?" "Come," Master Shen said, rising with the fluid ease of someone half her age. "Walk with me." They left the temple and followed a narrow path that wound down the mountainside, through groves of bamboo that swayed and clicked in the breeze, past a small stream that sang its endless song over polished rocks. Master Shen moved slowly, and Kenji noticed that she seemed to place each step with complete attention, as if walking were the whole purpose of the journey, not arriving anywhere in particular. After some time, they came to a place where the path opened onto a small clearing. In the center of the clearing grew an ancient pine tree, its trunk thick and gnarled, its branches stretching wide like arms open to embrace the sky. Master Shen sat down at the base of this tree and motioned for Kenji to sit beside her. "This tree," she said, placing her palm against the rough bark. "How many years do you think that has stood here?" Kenji studied the tree carefully. "Perhaps 300 years, Master, maybe more." "And in all those years, all those seasons, all those storms and calms and snows and scorching summers, has this tree ever tried to be anywhere other than here? Has it ever struggled to become something other than what it is? Has it ever worried that it is not enlightened enough, not practiced enough, not peaceful enough?" Kenji was silent, beginning to sense something important hovering just at the edge of his understanding. Master Shen continued, her voice blending with the sound of wind moving through the pine needles above them. "The tree breathes, Kenji. It takes in the sunlight and the rain. It releases oxygen into the air. It does not try to control the weather. It does not grasp at the good seasons or push away the difficult ones. It simply stands, rooted and present, breathing in and breathing out, alive in each moment. This is its enlightenment. This is its freedom." She turned to look at Kenji directly, and her gaze was gentle but penetrating. "You have been so busy seeking peace that you have not noticed you are breathing. You have been so busy trying to arrive at enlightenment that you have not realized you are already here, already alive, already home. The breath is your teacher, Kenji. It has been with you since the moment you were born, and it will be with you until the moment you die. Every time you return your attention to your breath, you return home. You stop trying to be somewhere else, someone else, something else. You simply are." Kenji felt something shift in his chest, like a knot slowly beginning to loosen. "But Master, how can it be so simple? How can the answer to years of searching be something as ordinary as breathing?" Master Shen smiled, and in her smile was the same peace that radiated from the ancient pine tree, from the flowing stream, from the very mountains themselves. It is precisely because it is so simple that we overlook it. It is precisely because it is so ordinary that we search for something more exotic, more special. We are like someone who has spent their whole life searching for their glasses while they sit on top of their head. The breath is always here, always available, always offering you a way home. But you must stop long enough to notice it. You must release your grip on all the places you think you should be going and simply arrive where you are. They sat together in silence then, beneath the ancient pine, and Master Shen guided Kenji to simply breathe. "Feel the air as it enters your nostrils," she said softly. "Cool air flowing in, carrying with it the scent of pine and earth. Follow it down into your lungs. Feel your chest expand. Feel your belly rise. And then release, letting the warm air flow back out, carrying with it nothing and everything, letting this breath complete its cycle and dissolve back into the world." Kenji did as she instructed, and for the first time in 7 years, he stopped trying to get somewhere. He stopped trying to achieve some future state of enlightenment. He stopped trying to control his mind or perfect his practice. He simply breathed, in and out, present and aware. And in that simple act, he touched something vast and peaceful, something that had been there all along, waiting patiently for him to stop seeking long enough to find it. As the sun moved lower in the sky, painting the clouds with shades of amber and rose, Master Shen spoke once more. "Each time your mind wanders into worry about the future or regret about the past, you have left home. Each time you notice this and gently return your attention to your breath, you come home again. This is not a failure, this wandering. This is simply what minds do, like clouds drifting across the sky. The practice is not to stop the clouds. The practice is to remember that you are the sky, vast and clear and unchanging, and that home is only one conscious breath away." As Kenji and Master Shen walked back up the mountain path toward the temple, the lesson began to sink deeper into Kenji's heart. But as often happens with profound teachings, the mind is quick to create new complications from simple truths. Over the following weeks, Kenji found himself trying very hard to remember to breathe mindfully, to stay present, to not let his mind wander. He became anxious about his breathing, constantly checking to see if he was doing it correctly, if he was present enough, if he had achieved the state of peace that Master Shen had described. One evening, as the monks gathered for the evening meal, Kenji noticed that his bowl of rice seemed to taste like nothing. He was so busy trying to be mindful, so focused on whether he was being present enough, that he had completely missed the actual experience of eating. He had turned the simple teaching into another form of striving, another mountain to climb, another achievement to pursue. After the meal, he found Master Shen in the garden tending to a small patch of herbs by moonlight. The silver light made everything look ethereal, as if the world were made of mist and memory. "Master," Kenji said, bowing, "I find that I am now worried about my breathing. I'm trying so hard to stay present that I feel more tense than before. Have I misunderstood your teaching?" Master Shen looked up from the herbs, her hands stilled in the soil. She studied Kenji for a long moment, then began to laugh. It was not a mocking laugh, but a warm, affectionate sound, like water bubbling up from a spring. "Ah, Kenji," she said, brushing the dirt from her hands, "you have taken the medicine and turned it into poison. You have taken the raft that was meant to carry you across the river, and now you're carrying the raft on your back, wondering why it's so heavy. Come, sit with me." They sat together on a wooden bench near the garden wall, where night-blooming jasmine released its sweet perfume into the darkness. The moon hung full and luminous above them, reflected in a small pond nearby where koi fish moved like shadows beneath the surface. "Let me tell you a story," Master Shen said, "about a young woman named Yuki who lived in a village at the foot of these very mountains many generations ago. Yuki was known throughout the village for her worrying. She worried about everything. She worried that she would run out of rice before the harvest. She worried that her roof would leak in the spring rains. She worried that she worried too much, and that this worrying would make her sick. Her mind was like a wheel that never stopped turning, always spinning with thoughts about what might go wrong, what she should be doing differently, how she was failing to live properly. The night air was cool and still, and somewhere in the distance, an owl called out, its voice deep and questioning. Kenji felt his body beginning to relax despite his earlier tension, drawn into the rhythm of Master Shen's story. One day, Master Shen continued, a traveling monk came through the village. He was an old man with kind eyes and a walking stick worn smooth from many years of journeying. He stayed for a few days, accepting food and offering teachings to anyone who wished to listen. Yuki, hearing that this monk was wise, approached him with her troubles. "Venerable sir," she said, bowing low, "I am trapped in a prison of my own mind. My thoughts never stop. I worry constantly and I cannot find peace. Please teach me how to calm my mind. Teach me how to stop worrying." The monk smiled at her and said, "I will teach you a practice that has been passed down for 1,000 years, a secret meditation that will solve all your problems. But you must do exactly as I say." Yuki's eyes grew wide with hope. "Yes, yes, anything. What must I do?" "It is very simple," the monk said. "For the next 7 days, I want you to breathe. That is all. Just breathe in and breathe out and be aware that you are breathing. Can you do this?" Yuki felt disappointed. She had hoped for something more profound, some special technique or secret knowledge, but she agreed to try. "Yes, venerable sir, I will breathe mindfully for 7 days." "There is one more thing," the monk added, his eyes twinkling with secret amusement. "You must not think about monkeys while you're doing this practice. No matter what, do not let a single thought of a monkey enter your mind. This is very important. Can you promise me this?" Yuki thought this was a strange instruction, but she nodded eagerly. "Yes, of course. I never think about monkeys anyway. I promise not to think about them while I practice." The monk bowed to her and continued on his journey, leaving Yuki to begin her practice. She went home, sat down on her cushion, closed her eyes, and began to breathe. In, out. In, out, she thought to herself. This is easy. I can do this. Just breathe and don't think about, oh no. A monkey had appeared in her mind. A small brown monkey with bright eyes, sitting on a branch looking at her curiously. Yuki shook her head, trying to clear the image away. No monkeys, just breathing. In and out. In and there's another one and another. Her mind suddenly seemed filled with monkeys. Monkeys swinging from trees, monkeys eating fruit, monkeys grooming each other, whole tribes of monkeys doing monkey things. The harder she tried not to think about them, the more monkeys appeared. Master Shen paused in her telling, and Kenji could hear the gentle sound of her breathing, the rustle of leaves in the garden, the eternal song of crickets hidden in the grass. By the 3rd day, Master Shen continued, Yuki was more agitated than she had been before she started the practice. She couldn't sleep because monkeys invaded her dreams. She couldn't eat because she kept seeing monkey faces in her rice bowl. She couldn't walk through the village without imagining monkeys behind every corner. Finally, on the 7th day, exhausted and frustrated, she sat down by the river that ran through the village and began to cry. As she wept, she heard footsteps on the path and looked up to see the traveling monk returning. He sat down beside her on the riverbank, saying nothing, simply present with her distress. After a time, when her tears had subsided, Yuki looked at him with red eyes and said, "Your practice has made everything worse. I am more disturbed now than I was before. My mind is full of monkeys and I cannot make them leave." The monk nodded sympathetically. "Tell me, before I gave you this practice, how often did you think about monkeys?" Yuki wiped her eyes. "Never. I never thought about monkeys at all." "And now?" "All the time. I can't stop thinking about them, no matter how hard I try." The monk picked up a smooth stone from the riverbank and held it up to catch the sunlight. "This stone," he said, Does it try to be round? Does it try to be smooth? Does it try to stop the water from flowing over it? Yuki shook her head, confused. No, it just is. Exactly, the monk said. The stone does not fight with what is. It does not try to control the river. It simply rests in the river, and the river, over time, shapes it. The stone's nature is to be shaped by the water, and the water's nature is to flow. Neither fights against the other. He set the stone back down and turned to look at Yuki directly. I gave you an impossible task, dear one. I asked you to control your mind, to prevent certain thoughts from arising. And in trying to do this impossible thing, you discovered what you could not see before. That the mind produces thoughts the way the sky produces clouds, the way a tree produces leaves, the way a river produces ripples. This is its nature. You cannot stop this. You cannot control what thoughts arise. But here is what you can do, and this is the real teaching. You can choose not to fight with your thoughts. You can choose not to grab onto them or push them away. You can let them be like clouds passing through the sky of your awareness. But what about the breathing practice? Yuki asked. What about being mindful? Ah, the monk said, and his smile was full of compassion. This is where we often create suffering for ourselves. We take a simple practice meant to help us return home to the present moment, and we turn it into another thing we can fail at, another way we can be inadequate. We try to force our minds to be quiet, to force ourselves to be present. And in this forcing, we create more tension, more struggle. This is not the way. He gestured to the river flowing beside them. Watch the water. It does not try to flow, it flows. The fish do not try to swim, they swim. The birds do not try to fly, they fly. And you, dear Yuki, do not need to try to breathe. You are already breathing. You have been breathing every moment of your life without effort, without trying. When I asked you to breathe mindfully, I was not asking you to breathe differently or better. I was simply asking you to notice what is already happening, to come home to the reality of this moment, where breath is already flowing in and out of your body, where life is already living you. Master Shen fell silent, letting the story settle like dust after a long journey. Kenji sat very still, feeling something open in his understanding. The jasmine perfume seemed stronger now, and he realized he had not been breathing. He had been holding his breath, tense with concentration on the story. Now he let the breath go, let it flow naturally in and out, and felt a wave of relief pass through his body. Do you understand now? Master Shen asked gently. The practice is not about trying harder. It is about trying less. It is about releasing the illusion that you must control your mind, control your breath, control your experience. It is about trusting that life knows how to live itself, that the breath knows how to breathe itself, and that your only task is to notice, to be aware, to come home to what is already here. Kenji bowed his head. Yes, Master. I think I am beginning to understand. When I try too hard to be present, I am actually leaving the present moment. I am in my head, judging whether I'm doing it right, worrying about whether I'm mindful enough. The real practice is simpler than I thought. It's just being here, noticing, allowing. Yes, Master Shen said, rising from the bench. The moon had risen higher now, and its light turned everything silver and shadow. And when you forget, when you find yourself caught up in thoughts about the past or future, caught up in worry or planning or judgment, you do not berate yourself. You do not create a problem out of this forgetting. You simply notice, I have wandered away from home. And then, gently, with kindness, you return your attention to your breath. You return home. Again and again, as many times as necessary, you return home. This is the practice. This is the path. This is enlightenment itself. Not some distant goal, but this simple returning, over and over, with patience and compassion. They walked back toward the temple together, and Kenji noticed that his steps felt lighter than they had in weeks. The constant striving had exhausted him, but this new understanding brought with it a sense of ease, even joy. He did not need to be anywhere other than here, walking this path, breathing this air, alive in this moment. Home was not somewhere he needed to arrive at. Home was what he returned to with each conscious breath. Let us pause here for a moment, dear friend, and feel into what these teachings are offering us. Perhaps you notice that your mind has wandered during this story, that you've been thinking about tomorrow's tasks or yesterday's conversations. This is not a problem. This is not a failure. This is simply what minds do. And now, noticing this, you can make a choice. You can gently, without judgment, return your attention to your breath. Feel the air moving in and out of your body. Feel the weight of your head against the pillow. Feel the temperature of the air around you. You are here. You are breathing. You are home. The wisdom of returning to the breath is not about perfection. It is not about never getting lost in thought. It is about remembering that you have a place to return to, a home base, an anchor in the present moment that is always available to you. Your breath has been with you through every moment of your life, through every joy and every sorrow, through every triumph and every defeat. It has never abandoned you. It has never judged you. It has simply continued, faithfully, quietly, keeping you alive, keeping you connected to this precious existence. When we release the need to control our experience, when we stop trying to force our minds to be different than they are, we discover a profound paradox. We find peace not by making peace happen, but by allowing ourselves to notice the peace that is already present beneath the turbulence of our thoughts. Like the depths of the ocean, which remain calm and still even when storms rage on the surface, there is a place within you that is untouched by the chaos of daily life. The breath is the thread that leads you down to these depths, down to the stillness that has always been there, waiting. In another time, in another monastery far from Master Shen's mountain temple, there lived a monk named Daichi. Daichi had a reputation throughout the region as a meditation master. Students came from distant provinces to study with him, seeking to learn his techniques, to understand his methods, to acquire the secret of his evident peace and clarity. Daichi would welcome them all, and he would always give them the same instruction: sit, breathe, return. When students asked him to elaborate, to explain the deeper meanings, to teach them advanced practices, he would simply smile and repeat, sit, breathe, return. Many students left, disappointed by what they perceived as oversimplification. They wanted something more complex, more impressive, more worthy of their time and effort. But a few stayed, intrigued by the possibility that perhaps the simplest answer was the truest one. Among these was a young man named Hiro, who had traveled for 3 months to reach the monastery. Hiro had suffered greatly in his life. He had lost his family to illness when he was young, had wandered from place to place seeking meaning and purpose, and had accumulated a heavy burden of pain and regret. He came to Daichi not seeking academic knowledge, but seeking relief from the constant ache in his heart. Daichi received Hiro in his simple chamber, which contained nothing but a meditation cushion and a small window that looked out onto a garden where cherry trees grew in graceful curves. The old teacher studied the young man's face, seeing there the weight of suffering, the desperation for escape. "You are seeking to stop the pain," Daichi said. It was not a question. Hiro nodded, tears already forming in his eyes. "Yes, master, I cannot bear it anymore. The memories, the regrets, the loneliness, they follow me everywhere. I cannot sleep. I cannot rest. I need to find peace or I fear I will lose my mind." Daichi was quiet for a long time, his gaze soft and filled with compassion. Finally, he said, "Tell me, Hiro, when did you last take a full, conscious breath?" The question surprised Hiro. He had expected the master to ask about his past, his traumas, his deepest fears. I don't know. I breathe all the time, of course, but I don't pay attention to it. Exactly, Daichi said. You breathe all the time. This miraculous process that keeps you alive, that connects you to all living things, that is the most intimate relationship you will ever have, and you don't pay attention to it. Instead, you pay attention to thoughts about the past, which no longer exists, and worries about the future, which has not yet come. You live everywhere except here, every time except now. And then you wonder why you cannot find peace. He gestured to the cushion across from him. Sit, he said simply. Hiro sat, settling onto the cushion with a mixture of hope and skepticism. He had meditated before in other temples with other teachers. He knew how to sit in the proper posture, how to hold his hands, how to focus his gaze. Good, Daichi said. Now, breathe. Hiro breathed. Now, let your attention rest on the sensation of breathing. Not thinking about the breath, but actually feeling it. The air moving in through your nostrils, cool and fresh. The slight pause at the top of the inhalation. The air moving out, warmer now, carrying with it everything you no longer need. Just this, just breathing, just being here. Hiro did as instructed, and for a few moments, he was simply aware of breathing. But then, as always, the thoughts came. Memories of his family, their faces, the last time he saw them. The regret of things said and unsaid. The fear of being alone. The thought that this meditation wasn't working, that he should be feeling something different, that perhaps he was broken beyond repair. As if reading his mind, Daichi spoke again, his voice as soft as the breeze moving through the cherry blossoms outside. Thoughts have come. This is natural. This is what minds do. Do not fight them. Do not judge yourself for having them. Simply notice, thinking is happening. And then, gently, like calling a beloved friend who has wandered away, return your attention to the breath. Return home. This is the practice, not stopping the thoughts, but returning. Always returning. So Hiro practiced returning. Thought arose, he noticed it. He returned to the breath. Another thought arose, he noticed it. He returned to the breath. Again and again and again. At first, it felt frustrating, almost impossible. The thoughts seemed to multiply, demanding his attention, pulling him away from the simple act of breathing. But Daichi sat with him, a quiet presence of stability and patience, and gradually, Hiro began to understand. Each time he noticed he was lost in thought and returned to the breath, he was making a choice. He was choosing presence over past. He was choosing now over nowhere. He was choosing to come home. And each time he made this choice, even if it was 10,000 times in a single session, he was practicing the art of freedom. He was demonstrating to himself that he was not a prisoner of his thoughts, that he could choose where to place his attention, that he had a refuge available to him in every moment. Days passed, then weeks. Hiro continued to sit with Daichi each morning and evening, and slowly, imperceptibly at first, something began to shift. The memories of his family were still there, but they no longer grabbed him by the throat and dragged him under. The regrets were still present, but they no longer defined him. He began to notice space between thoughts, moments of pure presence where there was nothing but breath and awareness and the profound simplicity of being alive. One morning, after they had sat together in silence for an hour, Daichi spoke. "Tell me what you have discovered, Hiro." Hiro took a deep breath before answering, feeling the air move through his body with gratitude. "I have discovered that I cannot control what thoughts arise or what feelings come, but I can control where I place my attention. I can choose moment by moment to return to the breath, to return to now. And when I do this, when I come home to this present moment, I find that the pain is not diminished exactly, but it is no longer overwhelming. It is simply one part of my experience, not the totality of it." "Yes," Daichi said, nodding. "And what else?" Hiro was quiet, searching for words to express something he had felt but not fully articulated. "I have discovered that I am not my thoughts. I am not my memories or my regrets or my fears. These things move through me like clouds moving through the sky, but I am something larger than them. I am the awareness. I am the space in which they arise and pass away. And this awareness, this space, it is not hurt by what moves through it. It is not damaged by suffering. It is simply here, always here, unchanging and peaceful. Daiichi's face lit with a gentle smile, and there was moisture in his old eyes. Ah, hero, you have found your way home. Not to some special state that you have achieved through great effort, but to what you have always been beneath all the noise and confusion. You have found the truth that the breath has been trying to teach you all along. You are already whole. You are already complete. You are already home. You simply forgot for a while, lost in the story your mind was telling you. He reached out and placed his weathered hand on Hiro's shoulder. Now the practice continues, because you will forget again. You will get caught up in thoughts and emotions and dramas. This is part of being human. But now you know the way home. Now you know that no matter how far you wander, you can always return with a single conscious breath. You can always come back to now. You can always remember what you truly are. Hiro stayed at the monastery for another year, deepening his practice, learning to carry this awareness into all aspects of life. He found that the simple teaching of sit, breathe, return was not a technique to be mastered, but a way of being to be embodied. Whether he was walking, eating, working in the garden, or lying down to sleep, he could always return his attention to the breath, always come back to the present moment, always remember his true home. And when the time came for him to leave the monastery and return to the world, Daiichi walked with him to the gate. The cherry trees were in full bloom, their petals drifting down like pink snow in the morning breeze. Remember, Daiichi said, that suffering is not an error to be fixed, but a teacher to be listened to. Your pain showed you that you were living everywhere except the present moment. It drove you to seek, and in seeking, you found your way home. So do not curse the suffering. Thank it for being a fierce and relentless teacher. And then gently return to the breath. Return home. This is enough. This has always been enough. Hiro bowed deeply, tears of gratitude streaming down his face, and walked through the gate into his new life, carrying with him not special knowledge or supernatural powers, but something far more valuable, the simple awareness that home was only one breath away, that peace was not something to achieve, but something to return to, again and again, in each precious moment of this mysterious and beautiful life. Now, dear friend, as you lie here listening to these words, perhaps you can feel what Hiro discovered. Perhaps you notice that beneath whatever thoughts are moving through your mind right now, beneath whatever emotions are present, beneath the story of who you think you are and what you think your life should be, there is a simple awareness, a quiet presence that is just here, just breathing, just being. This is your true home. This is what you have never lost, even in your darkest moments. This is what has been waiting patiently for you to stop seeking long enough to notice it. Take a breath now, a deep, conscious breath. Feel it fill your lungs, feel it nourish every cell of your body. And as you release it, let go of any tension you're holding, any effort you're making to be somewhere other than here. You don't have to fix anything, or solve anything, or become anything. You can simply be breathing in and breathing out, present and alive, home in this moment. The teaching of returning to the breath is ultimately a teaching about trust. It is about learning to trust that life knows how to live itself, that your body knows how to breathe itself, that the present moment is enough. We spend so much of our lives trying to control things that cannot be controlled, trying to make reality conform to our wishes and preferences, trying to prevent pain and hold on to pleasure. And in all this striving and grasping, we miss the miracle that is happening right now, the extraordinary fact of being alive, of being conscious, of being able to experience this moment in all its fullness. When you return to your breath, you are practicing surrender. Not a surrender of defeat or resignation, but a surrender of trust. You are saying to life, I don't need to control this moment. I can allow it to be what it is. I can be present with what is here, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, whether it matches my preferences or not. I can trust that this breath, this moment is enough. There is another story, one that comes from the early days of Zen in China, about a woman named Lin who worked as a washerwoman in a busy city. Lin had no formal education, had never studied in a monastery, had never even heard of meditation. She simply washed clothes in the river from dawn until dusk, supporting her children and her aging mother with her labor. One day, a famous Zen master named Bodhidharma came through the city. He was known throughout the land as one who had achieved great realization, and people flocked to hear him speak. A wealthy merchant seeking to gain merit and impress the master invited Bodhidharma to his mansion for a grand meal. All the important people of the city were invited, dressed in their finest robes, eager to demonstrate their spiritual sophistication to this renowned teacher. But after the meal, when the merchant asked Bodhidharma to share his wisdom with the assembled guests, the master stood up and walked out without saying a word. The guests were shocked and offended, whispering among themselves about the rudeness of this supposed holy man. The merchant hurried after Bodhidharma, catching up with him in the street. "Master, please, I meant no offense. Why did you leave? Won't you share your teaching with us?" Bodhidharma stopped and turned to face the merchant. His face was not angry, but there was a sadness in his eyes. "Your guests were not interested in truth," he said simply. "They were interested in appearing spiritual. They were interested in collecting teachings like rare jewels to display. They sat there with full bellies and distracted minds, thinking about their status and their wealth, checking to see if others were properly impressed with their presence. This is not the ground in which Dharma seeds can grow." He turned and continued walking, and the merchant, stung by the truth of these words, but also deeply curious, followed at a respectful distance. Bodhidharma walked through the wealthy neighborhoods, through the market district, down toward the river where the poorest people of the city lived and worked. Finally, he came to the place where the washerwomen did their work, kneeling on the flat rocks, scrubbing clothes in the flowing water. Bodhidharma watched them for a while, and then his attention settled on Lin. She worked with a steady rhythm, completely absorbed in her task. Her movements were fluid and efficient, no wasted motion, no hurry. She would dip a garment in the water, scrub it against the stone, rinse it, wring it out, and lay it to dry in the sun. Then she would take another garment and begin again. Her face held a quality of peace, of presence, that struck Bodhidharma deeply. He approached her and sat down nearby on the riverbank. Lin glanced at him, nodded politely, and continued with her work. The merchant, still following, was confused. Why had the master sought out this simple, uneducated woman? After some time, Bodhidharma spoke. "Tell me, mother, what are you thinking about as you work?" Lin looked up, surprised to be addressed by this strange man in monk's robes. She considered the question seriously, then said, "I am thinking about washing clothes. When I pick up a garment, I think about picking up a garment. When I scrub it, I think about scrubbing. When I rinse it, I think about rinsing. There is only this moment, only this task. Tomorrow has not come, and yesterday is gone. There is only now, only this washing, only these hands in this water." Bodhidharma began to smile, and his smile grew until it lit up his entire face. He bowed to Lin, pressing his forehead to the ground in the deepest gesture of respect. "You are my teacher," he said. "You have shown me what I have traveled across vast deserts and great mountains to understand. You live in the eternal now. You have found enlightenment not in temples or scriptures, but here, in the simple act of washing clothes, in the honest work of your hands, in the fullness of your presence." Lin laughed, a clear sound like water over stones. "Enlightenment? I don't know anything about that, sir. I only know that when you are washing clothes, you should wash clothes. When you are with your children, you should be with your children. When you are eating, you should eat. When you are breathing, you should breathe. How can you be anywhere else? There is only here. There is only now. The merchant, listening to this exchange, felt something crack open in his chest. He had spent years and fortunes seeking spiritual advancement, studying with teachers, collecting practices and techniques. Yet this woman, who probably could not read, who spent her days in repetitive labor, had discovered something he had missed entirely. The practice of complete presence, of wholehearted engagement with the simple reality of each moment. Bodhidharma spent the rest of the day sitting by the river watching Lin work, and in the evening, when she packed up her washing and prepared to go home, he asked if he might walk with her. As they walked through the city streets, now cooling in the dusk, Bodhidharma asked her, "Have you always lived this way, fully present with each moment?" Lin shook her head. "No, Venerable Sir. When I was younger, I was always somewhere else. While washing clothes, I would worry about having enough rice for dinner. While cooking dinner, I would worry about my children's future. While playing with my children, I would think about tomorrow's work. I was never here, never now. I was always chasing after something that wasn't present, or running away from something that was." "What changed?" Bodhidharma asked. Lin was quiet for a moment, remembering. "My eldest son became very ill. For weeks, I thought I would lose him. I sat by his bedside day and night, and in that time, I discovered something. When I was truly present with him, just holding his hand, just breathing with him, just being there completely, I found a kind of peace even in the midst of terror. I found that the present moment, however difficult, was bearable. It was the thoughts about the future, the fear of losing him, that were unbearable. The present moment was just what it was. My son breathing, my hand holding his hand, the lamp flickering, the night passing. This was something I could meet. This was something I could be with." She smiled at the memory. "My son recovered, thanks to the ancestors. But I kept what I learned during that time. I learned that worrying about the future doesn't prevent bad things from happening. It just makes me suffer twice. I learned that clinging to the past doesn't preserve it. It just keeps me from living now. So I began to practice bringing myself back to the present moment, again and again. At first, it was hard. My mind wanted to wander. But gradually, like training a friendly dog to come when called, my attention learned to stay where I placed it. And now, most of the time, I am here. I am doing what I'm doing. I am being where I am. This is my practice. This is my meditation. This is my freedom." Bodhidharma bowed to her again. "You have taught me that enlightenment is not separate from ordinary life. It is not found only in temples or achieved only through years of special practice. It is available in each moment to anyone who is willing to be fully present, to bring their whole attention to whatever they are doing, to return again and again to the simple reality of now." From that day forward, whenever Bodhidharma taught, he would tell the story of Lin, the washerwoman, reminding his students that the way is not far away, not complex, not reserved for those with special abilities or opportunities. The way is here. The way is now. The way is in this breath, this step, this moment of complete presence. As these stories settle into your awareness, dear friend, let your body settle even more deeply into rest. Feel the weight of your limbs, heavy and relaxed. Feel your breath flowing effortlessly in and out, requiring no effort from you, just as it has continued throughout these stories, throughout your entire life. You don't have to try to breathe correctly. You don't have to try to be present perfectly. You can simply allow yourself to notice what is already here. Breath flowing, heart beating, life living itself through you. The teaching that Lin embodied is available to you right now, in this moment. You don't have to wait until you've meditated for years, or studied with masters, or achieved some special state. Right now, wherever you are, whatever is happening in your life, you can make the choice that Lin made. You can bring your attention fully to this present moment. You can stop chasing after what is not here, and resisting what is here. You can simply be with what is, as it is, allowing reality to be real without fighting against it. This doesn't mean you become passive or stop making efforts to improve your life. It means you stop living in a state of constant argument with the present moment. It means you stop saying, "This shouldn't be happening. I should be somewhere else. I should be different than I am." Instead, you say, "This is what is here now. I can be present with this. I can meet this with my whole attention, with kindness, with curiosity." And in that acceptance, in that willingness to be fully here, you discover a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances being different than they are. The breath is the bridge between the world inside you and the world around you. It connects your body to the air, your small self to the vast universe. When you bring your attention to your breath, you are not escaping from reality, you are arriving at reality. You are coming home to the only place where life can actually be lived, this present moment, this here and now. There is one more story I want to share with you before we begin to move toward rest and sleep. This story comes from Japan, from a temple built on the side of a mountain, overlooking a vast forest that stretched as far as the eye could see. In this temple lived a master known as Enkyo, which meant circle of light. Enkyo was very old, her back bent with years, her hands gnarled like ancient tree roots. But her eyes were clear and bright, and students came from all over to sit with her and learn. One autumn, a young student named Akira arrived at the temple. He was bright and earnest, full of questions and theories about Buddhist philosophy. He had read extensively, could quote from sutras and commentaries, and was eager to discuss the fine points of doctrine with the master. Enkyo received him kindly, serving him tea in silence while he launched into an elaborate explanation of his understanding of emptiness, impermanence, and the nature of self. He spoke for nearly an hour, weaving together ideas from different schools and traditions, demonstrating his intellectual grasp of the teachings. When he finally paused to take a breath, Enkyo asked him simply, "Are you breathing?" Akira was taken aback by the question. "Yes, of course I'm breathing, master. I'm alive, aren't I?" "Are you sure?" Enkyo asked, her eyes twinkling. "You have been speaking for an hour, and I have not seen you take a single conscious breath. You have been in your head, lost in concepts and ideas, while your body has been breathing you without your awareness. So I ask you again, are you breathing, or are you being breathed?" Akira felt defensive. "But master, surely the intellectual understanding of the Dharma is important. Surely we need to study and think deeply about these teachings." "Certainly," Enkyo said, refilling his teacup. "Understanding is valuable. Study is valuable. But tell me, Akira, can you think your way to enlightenment? Can you analyze your way to peace? Can you intellectualize your way to presence?" She set down the teapot and looked at him with such gentleness that his defensiveness melted. "You have accumulated much knowledge, young one. Your mind is sharp and quick, but you have forgotten the most basic thing. You have forgotten to be here. You have forgotten to breathe consciously. You have forgotten that wisdom is not only in the head, but in the whole body, in the whole being, in the simple act of showing up fully for this moment." He began to notice that when he was fully present with raking leaves, there was no one there worrying about enlightenment. There was just the rake, the leaves, the sound of them rustling, the smell of autumn in the air. When he was fully present with serving food, there was just the warmth of the soup, the weight of the bowl, the gratitude in someone's eyes. When he was fully present with breathing, there was just breath, just awareness, just this simple miraculous fact of being alive. One morning, as winter was approaching and the first snow began to fall, Akira was sitting in meditation in the temple hall. He had been returning his attention to his breath over and over, and suddenly, between one breath and the next, something clicked into place. It wasn't a dramatic experience, not a flash of light or a cosmic vision. It was more like coming home after a long journey, like taking off a heavy backpack he had been carrying for miles. He realized that he had spent years seeking something that was always already here. He had been trying to arrive at a destination he had never left. He was like someone searching desperately for their glasses while wearing them on their face. When the meditation period ended and he emerged from the hall, Enkyo was waiting for him. She took one look at his face and began to laugh. "You found it," she said. Or rather, you stopped looking and realized it was never lost. Akira bowed to her, tears streaming down his face, tears of relief and gratitude and joy. "Master, it was so simple. It was always so simple. Why did I make it so complicated?" Enkyo put her hand on his shoulder. "Because the mind loves complexity. The mind loves problems to solve and destinations to reach. The mind cannot accept that the deepest truth is simple. Be here now. Return to the breath. Come home. The mind wants something more impressive, more special. But the heart knows, the body knows. They have always known." She led him out to the garden where snow was falling silently, each flake unique and perfect, settling on the branches of the trees, on the stone paths, on their hair and robes. "Look," she said, "the snow doesn't try to fall more beautifully. It just falls. The tree doesn't try to hold the snow more perfectly. It just holds. The breath doesn't try to be more spiritual. It just breathes. And you, Akira, you don't have to try to be enlightened. You just have to be here, fully here, completely present, alive in this moment." They stood together in silence, breathing in the cold winter air, exhaling clouds of white mist, present with the snow, present with the silence, present with the vast and simple mystery of being alive. And in that presence, there was no seeking, no striving, no separation between self and world, between student and master, between this moment and eternity. There was just this: breath and snow and silence and the profound peace of coming home. Now, as we move toward the end of our time together tonight, let yourself sink even more deeply into relaxation. Your body is heavy now, soft and settled, held by whatever supports you. Your breathing has become slow and easy, requiring no attention, no effort. You are drifting in that space between waking and sleeping, that gentle threshold where the day releases its grip and the night receives you with infinite tenderness. All these stories, all these teachings, all these words that have flowed like a river through this night, they all point to one simple truth. You can come home. Right now, right here, with this breath. You can stop wandering. You can stop seeking. You can stop trying to be somewhere else, someone else, something else. You can arrive at this moment, this precious, irreplaceable, never to be repeated moment, and you can let it be enough. The breath is your anchor. The breath is your teacher. The breath is your home. When thoughts come that disturb your peace, when fears arise about tomorrow, when regrets surface from yesterday, you can simply notice them, acknowledge them, and return your attention to your breath. In and out. In and out. The rhythm that has accompanied you since birth and will carry you through to death. The rhythm that connects you to all living things, to the trees and the wind and the waves of the ocean, to every human being who has ever lived, every creature that has ever drawn. Let your awareness now become very soft, very gentle, like moonlight spreading across still water. There is nowhere you need to go, nothing you need to do, no one you need to become. You can simply rest here, breathing softly, allowing the stories to fade into the background, allowing the teachings to settle into your heart like seeds planted in good soil, trusting that they will grow in their own time, in their own way, without your effort or control. Feel the darkness around you, not as something frightening, but as something nurturing, like the darkness of the womb, like the darkness of rich earth where seeds germinate and roots grow strong. In this darkness, you are safe. In this darkness, you can let go. In this darkness, you can surrender to the wisdom of your body, which knows how to sleep, which knows how to restore and renew, which knows how to return you to wholeness without any instruction from your thinking mind. As you drift deeper now, imagine yourself as a leaf that has fallen from a tree, floating down through the evening air, turning slowly, catching the last light of day. You are not falling in fear or panic. You are falling with trust, with grace, with the absolute certainty that the earth will receive you, that you will come to rest exactly where you need to be. This falling is not a loss. This falling is a return. You are coming home to the earth from which you came, to the stillness from which all motion arises, to the silence from which all sound emerges. Your breath is so soft now, so subtle, barely perceptible, like the breathing of a sleeping child, innocent and trusting and completely at ease. There is no need to control it, no need to think about it. It simply flows, in and out, in its own rhythm, its own perfect timing, keeping you alive, keeping you connected, keeping you home. In the mountains where Master Shen taught, where Kenji discovered the simplicity of return, there is a story told about the last days of the Master's life. When she was very old, her body worn out from decades of practice and service, she called her students together one final time. They gathered around her bed, some weeping, others trying to maintain their composure, all of them dreading the moment when she would leave them. Master Shen looked at their faces with such love, such tenderness, that several students had to turn away, overcome with emotion. "Dear ones," she said, her voice thin but clear, "why do you cry? I am not going anywhere. How could I? There is nowhere to go but here. There is no time to exist in but now." "But Master," one student said, "you are dying. You are leaving us." "Am I?" Master Shen asked, and there was amusement in her fading eyes. "Tell me, where was I before I was born? And where will I be after this body stops breathing? Can you show me a place that is not here? Can you show me a time that is not now?" The students were silent, understanding and not understanding, their rational minds confused, but their hearts somehow grasping what she was teaching them even in this final moment. "Let me tell you what dying has taught me," Master Shen continued, each word requiring effort now. "It has taught me that the only thing we ever truly possess is this present moment. All my years of practice, all my years of teaching, all my seeking and finding and losing and seeking again, it all comes down to this breath, this moment, this eternal now that has no beginning and no end." She paused, gathering strength, and one of her senior students, a woman named Keiko, who had been with her for 30 years, took her hand. Master Shen smiled at the touch. "I have taught you about impermanence," she said. "I have taught you about letting go, about non-attachment, about the empty nature of all things. But now, in these final hours, I teach you the most important lesson. There is nothing to fear. This body will stop breathing, yes, but the breath itself continues. The awareness that has looked through these eyes, that has spoken through this mouth, that has loved you all so deeply, this awareness does not die. It simply returns to its source, like a wave returning to the ocean, like your breath returning to the air." She took a slow, labored breath, and the students leaned in, not wanting to miss a word. "So do not mourn for me. Instead, breathe. Let each breath be a practice of return."
Let each breath remind you that you are not separate from the great life that breathes through all things. Let each breath bring you home to the truth that you are already what you seek, already where you need to be, already whole and complete. Her eyes closed for a moment, then opened again, and when she spoke, her voice was surprisingly strong. And when you forget, when you get lost in thoughts of past and future, in worries and plans and regrets, do not judge yourself. Simply notice with kindness that you have wandered away from home. And then, with the gentleness you would show to a small child, return your attention to your breath. Return home. This is the practice. This is the path. This is the liberation I have tried to point to all these years. She looked at each student, her gaze resting on each face with complete presence, complete attention, as if she had all the time in the world, though they all knew she had perhaps only hours. "I will tell you a secret now," she whispered, and they all leaned closer. "There is no enlightenment to achieve. There is only remembering to come home. There is only this breath, this moment, this simple act of being fully present with what is. Everything else is just decoration, just elaboration, just the mind trying to make something complex out of what is beautifully, perfectly simple. As the day faded into evening, Master Shen's breathing became slower, quieter. Her students sat with her in meditation, not trying to hold on to her, not trying to prevent what was happening, simply breathing with her, simply present, simply there. And as the moon rose and sent its silver light through the window, Master Shen took one more breath, released it slowly, and did not breathe in again. But in that moment, as her breath joined the air of the room, the mountain, the world, the students felt something profound. They felt that she had not disappeared, but expanded. She had not ended, but returned to something vaster. Her individual breath had rejoined the great breathing of all life, the inhale and exhale of existence itself. And in their own breathing, in their own continued presence, she was somehow still there, still teaching, still pointing them toward home. From that day forward, the students carried her final teaching with them. When they sat in meditation, they would remember Master Shen's last words, "Return home. Just this breath. Just this moment." When they became lost in worry or planning, they would hear her gentle voice, "Notice with kindness. Return home." When they were afraid or grieving or confused, they would feel her presence in their own breathing, reminding them that they were never separate from the great life that moves through all things, that home was only one conscious breath away. Let yourself breathe now with the same trust that Master Shen demonstrated in her final moments. Your breath is connecting you to something infinite, something that cannot be harmed or diminished, something that has always been and will always be. You are not just a small, isolated self breathing alone in the dark. You are the universe breathing itself, life experiencing itself, consciousness knowing itself through this particular form, this particular body, this particular moment. Feel how your breath connects you to the trees, which breathe in what you breathe out, which breathe out what you breathe in. Feel how your breath connects you to the ocean, which evaporates into clouds, which fall as rain, which you drink, and which becomes part of your blood, part of your breath. Feel how your breath connects you to every human being who has ever lived, for we all breathe the same air, we all share the same sky, we all participate in the same vast circulation of elements and energy that makes life possible. You are not separate. You have never been separate. The feeling of isolation, of being a small self trapped inside a body, alone and vulnerable in a vast and indifferent universe, this feeling is just a thought, just a story, just a cloud passing through the clear sky of your true nature. And when you return to the breath, when you come home to the simplicity of this present moment, the story loses its power. The illusion of separation dissolves. You remember what you have always been. Not a small wave separate from the ocean, but the ocean itself, temporarily expressing as this particular wave, this particular life, this particular breath.
As you sink deeper into sleep now, let everything become very soft, very hazy, very dreamlike. The boundary between your body and the air around you becomes less defined. The distinction between breathing in and breathing out becomes less important. There is just breath, just flow, just the gentle rhythm of life moving through you and around you and as you. Your thoughts are slowing down now, like a river approaching the sea, spreading out, becoming wider and slower and more peaceful. Images drift across your awareness like clouds across a summer sky, no longer demanding your attention, no longer pulling you into their drama. You can watch them float by with detached curiosity, or you can simply let your awareness settle beneath them, down into the depths where there is only stillness, only silence, only the vast and peaceful presence that you are. In a monastery by the sea, where the sound of waves was the constant backdrop to all activity, there lived a young nun named Mi who struggled with anxiety. Her mind was always racing, always imagining worst-case scenarios, always preparing for disasters that rarely came. She could not sleep well because her thoughts would spin through the night, and even during the day, during meditation and work, She could not find peace. One evening, as the sun was setting over the ocean, painting the water with ribbons of gold and crimson, Mi sat on the beach, her arms wrapped around her knees, tears streaming down her face. She felt broken, inadequate, convinced that she would never be able to practice properly, never be able to find the peace that her teacher and the other nuns seemed to embody. Her teacher, Abbess Yumi, found her there and sat down beside her on the sand. For a long time, they sat in silence, watching the waves roll in and roll out, each one unique, each one perfect in its own way. "Tell me what you hear," Abbess Yumi finally said. Mi listened. "I hear the waves, the wind, seabirds calling." "And what is the sound of the waves doing?" Mi listened more carefully. "Coming and going, rising and falling, over and over." "Yes," Abbess Yumi said. "And does the ocean worry about the next wave? Does the wave fear that it might not form correctly? Does the water anxiously plan for tomorrow's tide?" "No," Mi said quietly. "It just flows. It just moves according to its nature." "And yet," Abbess Yumi continued, "each wave is perfect. Each wave does exactly what it needs to do. The ocean doesn't need to control the waves. The waves don't need to try to be better waves. Everything simply follows its nature, moves according to the great rhythm of life, and somehow it all works. The tides come and go. The waves rise and fall. The water flows to the sea and evaporates to the sky and falls as rain and flows back to the sea again. Nothing is trying. Nothing is worrying. Everything is simply being what it is, doing what it does." Mi felt something shift inside her, like a door opening onto a room she had never known was there. "You're saying my anxiety is like trying to control the waves?" "More than that," Abbess Yumi said gently. "Your anxiety is like a wave trying to control itself, trying to be different than it is, trying to happen in some other way than the way it is naturally happening. But what if you didn't fight the anxiety? What if you didn't try to make it go away? What if you simply let it be, the way the ocean lets the waves be?" "But it's so uncomfortable," Mi protested. "It feels unbearable sometimes." "Yes," Abbess Yumi agreed. "And so does a wave, to the wave itself. Each wave rises and feels the full force of its rising, the tension, the building, the cresting. And then it crashes and dissolves. And that too is intense, that dissolution. But does the ocean resist this? Does the ocean say, no, this wave should not be so big. This wave should not crash so hard? No. The ocean allows the waves to be exactly as they are. And because of this, there is a kind of peace underneath the turbulence, a depth that is never disturbed." She reached down and scooped up a handful of sand, letting it run through her fingers back to the beach. "Your true nature is like the ocean depths, Mi. Still, quiet, at peace. Your anxiety is like waves on the surface. Real, yes. Present, yes. But not the totality of what you are. When you return to your breath, when you anchor your awareness in the simple act of breathing, you descend beneath the waves."
You touch that depth. You remember that you are not just the wave, but the entire ocean. May sat with this teaching, feeling it settle into her bones. "So I don't try to stop the anxiety?" "You can't stop it," Abbess Yumi said simply. "Trying to stop anxiety creates more anxiety. It's like trying to make waves stop by splashing at them. Instead, you practice presence. You return to your breath, you feel your feet on the ground, your body in space, the air moving in and out of your lungs. You come home to this moment, and you notice that right now, in this breath, in this moment, you are okay. You are breathing. You are alive. The future you're worried about hasn't happened. The past you're regretting is gone. There is only now, and now is something you can meet. Now is something you can be with." They sat together until the stars emerged, tiny points of ancient light scattered across the infinite darkness.
and May practiced what Abbess Yumi had taught her. When anxious thoughts arose, she didn't push them away. She noticed them, acknowledged them, and then gently returned her attention to her breath, to the sound of the waves, to the feeling of sand beneath her, to the simple fact of being alive in this moment. Again and again, she would get caught in worry, and again, she would return home. Each time she returned, it became a little easier, a little more natural, like learning a new language or training a muscle. This practice of returning, Abbess Yumi said as they finally stood to walk back to the monastery, this is not something you will do for a few weeks and then be done with. This is a lifetime practice. This is a moment-by-moment choice to come home, to be present, to remember what you are beneath the waves. Some days will be easier than others. Some days the waves will be small and gentle. Some days they will be enormous and terrifying. But the practice remains the same. Notice, return, breathe. Notice you've wandered into worry. Return to presence, breathe with awareness. This is enough. This is the path. This is home. Feel yourself now like the ocean depths, still and peaceful, while the waves of thought and sensation move across the surface of your awareness. You don't have to control the waves. You don't have to make your mind stop thinking or your body stop feeling. You simply rest in the depths, allowing everything to be as it is, breathing in and breathing out, present and aware, home in this moment. Your body is so heavy now, so relaxed, sinking into deep rest. Your mind is quiet, thoughts becoming fewer and farther between, like the last birds crossing the sky at dusk, heading home to roost. The day is done. The seeking is done. The striving is done. There is nothing left to do but rest, but breathe, but allow yourself to be held by this moment, by the darkness, by the great arms of life itself. Let go now of anything you're still holding. Let go of the need to understand everything in these stories. Let go of the need to remember all the teachings. Let go of the need to be different than you are. Just this breath, just this moment, just this simple, profound act of being alive, being here, being home. You are safe. You are held. You are exactly where you need to be. The breath is breathing you. Life is living you. Awareness is aware of itself through you. And in this recognition, in this return home, there is nothing missing, nothing wrong, nothing to fix or achieve or become. Breathe in the cool night air, filled with peace. Breathe out everything you no longer need. Breathe in this moment, perfect as it is. Breathe out into complete trust, complete surrender, complete rest. The moon is watching over you. The stars are keeping vigil. The earth is holding you. And your breath, your faithful companion from birth until death, is here with you, guiding you home, again and again and again. Return to the breath. Return home. Just this. Just now. Just peace. Let yourself drift now into sleep, carried on the gentle tide of your own breathing, floating in the vast ocean of awareness, dissolving into the sweet darkness, where all things return to rest, where all separation ends, where home has always been waiting, where you have never truly left. Breathe, return, rest, home.